Sometimes, the most important stories in a zoo are the ones you never see, the quiet ones happening just behind the glass, in the back rooms, and late at night when the visitors have all gone home. Think about the last time you stood in front of an animal enclosure. Maybe it was a rhino, a tiger, or a troop of chattering monkeys. It's easy to see it as a simple moment. You watch, they move, you take a picture, and move on. But for many of those animals, that moment is part of a much bigger fight. A fight against extinction, against shrinking habitats, and against the damage humans have already done. And strangely enough, some of their best chances at survival now begin not in the wild, but inside zoo walls. Zoos didn't start out this way. The earliest ones were more like living trophy rooms, concrete cages, iron bars, wild animals collected to impress visitors and prove a city's wealth. There wasn't much thought about mental health, natural behavior, or conservation. But over the last few decades, the best zoos on Earth have quietly reinvented themselves. Instead of asking, how many animals can we show? They started asking, which animals need our help the most, and how can we actually keep them alive for the next 100 years? That shift, from entertainment to conservation, has changed everything from enclosure design to the way a keeper touches a rhino's horn or hands food to an elephant. If you look closely, you can already see the change. Those old concrete pits are being replaced by environments that try to mimic real habitats. Forests with hidden pathways, rocky outcrops where animals can disappear if they want to be alone, pools deep enough for a hippo to fully submerge, not just wade in circles. And behind every viewing window, there's a carefully thought-out plan. How much space does this species need to roam? How smart are they? And how do we keep their minds busy? How do we encourage them to climb, dig, stalk, or swim the way they would in the wild? A good modern zoo is less like a display case and more like a complex puzzle designed around animal behavior. This is especially true for the giants, the rhinos, elephants, big cats, and great apes whose wild homes are disappearing fastest. Take rhinos, for example. In some parts of the world, they're under constant threat from poaching and habitat loss. In the wild, those problems are massive and messy and hard to control. Inside a well-run zoo, though, there's a chance to do things differently. Here, every rhino has a name, a medical record, a carefully planned diet. Their genes are tracked and compared with rhinos at other zoos around the world to create breeding plans that keep bloodlines healthy and diverse. A rhino calf born at a zoo isn't just a cute photo opportunity. It's part of a global insurance policy for an entire species. The same is true for elephants. These animals are incredibly intelligent, social, and emotional, and caring for them in captivity is one of the hardest challenges zoos have taken on, but it's also one of the most important. In some places, elephants are losing ground every year, pushed into smaller and smaller pockets of habitat, squeezed between farms, roads, and cities. In a zoo, elephant care has evolved from circus-style control to something far more respectful and careful. Many facilities now use what's called protected contact, where keepers always have a barrier between themselves and the elephants. It might look less dramatic from the outside, but it's safer for everyone and built around choice, trust, and training instead of force. Elephants can voluntarily offer a foot for a health check, an ear for a blood draw, or open their mouths for a dental exam. That kind of cooperation doesn't happen overnight. It's earned quietly, day after day, with patience and consistency. And the work doesn't stop when the gates close. Behind the scenes, zoos run more like hospitals and research centers than amusement parks. There are veterinarians who specialize in everything from bird anesthesia to reptile surgery. There are nutritionists who weigh out diets down to the gram, adjusting the mix of hay, browse, fish, insects, or fruit to keep every species on track. There are labs where blood samples are analyzed, fecal samples are checked, and tiny details about hormones, parasites, and immune systems are tracked over time. Keepers arrive before sunrise to prepare food, clean habitats, and set up enrichment, those odd-looking toys, puzzle feeders, scents, and climbing structures designed to keep animals thinking, solving, and exploring instead of just waiting for the next meal. Even the smallest details can matter. A scattered handful of nuts hidden throughout an enclosure can turn feeding time into a natural foraging challenge instead of a boring routine. A new log or climbing platform might encourage a big cat to stalk, leap, and scratch the way its wild cousins do. A simple scent trail, like a feather dipped in spices or a bit of fur from another species, can spark curiosity and investigation in an animal that might otherwise spend the day pacing along a wall. You might see just a playful lion or a curious bear. The staff see small victories in mental health and natural behavior. But zoos don't exist in a bubble. Many of them now fund and support conservation projects far beyond their own fences. Money from every ticket, donation box, and special event can be channeled into field work, protecting habitats, training rangers, supporting local communities, and even rescuing injured animals. A person standing in front of a penguin exhibit may not realize that part of their admission goes to protecting nesting beaches thousands of miles away. A child mesmerized by a snow leopard behind glass might never see that cat's mountain home, but their visit could help pay for camera traps, anti-poaching patrols, or community programs that make it possible for people and predators to live side by side. And then there's the quiet education that happens without anyone opening a textbook. Think about a kid who's only ever seen an elephant in a cartoon. On a screen, it's easy to forget that it's a living, breathing, feeling creature. At the zoo, that same kid stands in front of a real elephant, hears it rumble, watches it flap its ears, sees the dust roll off its skin. Suddenly, it's not just an animal anymore, it's a neighbor on this planet. That kind of moment sticks. Years later, that memory might be the reason someone signs a petition, chooses a sustainable product, or supports a wildlife charity. Zoos can't measure that shift on a chart, but it's one of the most powerful things they do. Of course, zoos are not perfect. Some are far from it. There are still facilities that don't meet modern standards, and there are hard questions to ask about what captivity means for intelligent, wide-ranging animals. But it's also true that for certain species, the choice isn't between wild and free and captivity. Too often, it's between captivity and gone forever. When wild landscapes are carved into smaller and smaller pieces, and when poaching or climate change push species to the edge, responsible zoos can act as a kind of ark, keeping a living population safe while we work to repair the damage outside their walls. And if you look around carefully, you'll see signs of that hope. You'll see breeding announcements that represent decades of planning. You'll see rescued animals that can't return to the wild, but now live in safety and comfort. You'll see collaborations between zoos, conservation centers, and sanctuaries that blend the best of each world, the space and natural freedom of protected reserves, and the medical care, research, and funding that big public institutions can offer. These are not flashy headlines, but step by step they add up to something real. So the next time you walk through a zoo, try something different. Don't just glance at the sign, snap a photo, and move on. Pause for a moment. Look at the animals, yes, but also look at everything around them. Notice the keepers quietly training a sea lion to open its mouth so they can check its teeth. Notice the informational signs about projects thousands of miles away. Notice the kid standing in awe in front of a gorilla, or the person who lingers just a little too long at the rhino habitat deep in thought. These are hints of a story that goes far beyond a single afternoon visit. Behind the glass, behind the gates, there is a constant, careful effort to give animals more than just survival, to give them safety, stimulation, and a future. For some species, these places are the bridge between a dangerous present and a better tomorrow. And for us as visitors, they're a chance to step close enough to care. Because when you really see an animal, its power, its vulnerability, its personality, it becomes much harder to shrug and look away when its wild home is on the line. In the end, that's how zoos change lives. Not just the lives of the animals they shelter, but the lives of the people who walk their paths, press their hands to the glass, and leave with a slightly different view of the world. One quiet moment at an enclosure might not feel like much, but multiplied by millions of visitors, thousands of days, and countless animals, those quiet stories can shape the future of the wild in ways we're only beginning to understand.